Good afternoon. Welcome to today's CI Tools webinar. As usual, my name is Josh Osborne. I'm the product manager for the CI Tools here at Central Innovation. And this is a weekly webinar where we talk about things to do with the CI Tools. This week, we're going to be having a look at some of the smaller features of smaller tools available in the CI Tools. Maybe you haven't heard of or haven't tried or something like that. So we're going to have a look at how a handful of those work. If you have any questions as we go through today, please just enter those in the chat panel wherever you're watching this. And at the end of the session, I will see if I can answer any while we're online. And if you think of any after the fact, or you have any suggestions for future webinars or anything, please just send those through to us on nz.support@centralinnovation.com, and our support team will either help you with your query, or if it's a suggestion for a webinar topic, they will send it on to me. We're going to be working in ArchiCAD 28 today. A couple of the features that we're going to look at are exclusive to ArchiCAD 28. So I'll try to mention that when I show those. But yeah, so if you're using 28, you'll be able to do all of the stuff that we're seeing here and most of it in 27 as well. I think that's all of the housekeeping for today. So yeah, let's get into it. So as I said, there's a couple of sort of smaller tools or functions in tools that you may not know about or you may not use very often or something like that, but are quite often useful in specific situations. That's why we made them, after all. And so what I wanted to do is just go through and show how a couple of those work, why you might want to use them and that sort of thing. Not so much so that you can use them every day, but so that you know that they're there for when the situation arises where they are useful, you'll know that those are available and you don't have to spend a bunch of time doing whatever the thing is that you need to do. You can just go and use the CI tool to do whatever it is. So we're going to go through those today. But as I say, if you have any questions, just pop them into the chat and I'll either get to them during at the end of the session or include them in a future webinar or something like that. So the first thing that I wanted to look at was in the CI Tools structural tool, which is a new tool in ArchiCAD 28, but in the ArchiCAD 27, the functions that we're going to look at today are also available in the objective tool. We just shifted the name of the tool that they're part of, but the functionality is still there. And what we're going to have a look at is the slab edging. So this does exactly what it sounds like. It puts edges on slabs. So let's got a slab on this deck here. You don't actually see it in the menu. So if you go to the structural menu, not available in there because it is accessed via a tool in the toolbox. So similarly to how some of the other tools like doors and windows and that sort of thing work. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our toolbox. And if you're using the CI Tools work environment, it will be the third item in the design menu. It looks like a sort of a shadow on a slab or something like that. But this is it here, this is the slab edge tool. If you don't have it already in your toolbox and you do have our work environment installed, which is part of the CI Tools installer, just head over to the options menu, work environment, apply profile and choose CI Tools profile 28. That'll automatically throw it into your toolbox there. And if you don't want to do it that way, or you just don't have the work environment installed, you can go to the toolbox editing here and scroll down to near the bottom. That's where the CI tools normally show up. So you can see those all there, and slab edges is there. So you can move that into whichever toolbox group you want that to show in if you want to do that manually. So I'm just going to grab the slab edge tool. I'll leave it with the default settings for now, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mouse over this slab here. You can see that it is going to click on that edge of the slab. If I click here and click to place, and it automatically draws stairs down from the edge of that slab there. So you can probably immediately see where this might be useful to you. Obviously, this is clashing a little bit with the stairs that we already had placed there, but that's fine. But because these are actually attached to our slab, similarly to how the coverings tool does, it will follow the shape of the slab as well. So if I were to modify the edge of this slab, let's say draw an extra node in here, like this, you'll see that the slab edge will follow the shape of the slab. Obviously, we now have two edges, and because, as you can probably guess by the name, slab edges are attached to a specific edge, it has left it on that one particular edge, but we can move the node now to anywhere that we want, and the slab edge will follow it in that shape as well. So it makes it very nice and easy to do things that attach to the edges of slabs, because essentially you can sort of place one and then forget about it. I'll just undo a couple of steps back there. So that is a slab edge stair. We have a couple of other types of slab edges as well. Whoops, that was the slab, not the slab accessory. Let's delete the slab edge. So if I go back into my slab edge tool, this time I'm going to double click to open up the settings, and you can see there's 3 slab edge elements available. We just use the steps option, but we've got a footing option. Now have a look at what that one looks like. Click on the edge of the slab. So that you can see we've got a footing placed there. It's a little bit hard to see there, but it has placed the footing down from the edge there. And you can see a bit of the profile over there. It's just rectangular by default. So that's what we've got. And then the third option is the rebate, which again does pretty much exactly what it sounds like. So we can come over here, click on the edge of the slab, and it will rebate the edge. So we just get a nice rebate cut out from that slab. So it makes it nice and easy to do those without having to do solid element operations or anything like that. Just does a nice easy job of that for us. So let's quickly have a look through the settings that are available in each one, just so that you know what you can do with these if you want to use one of them. So with the rebate that we just did, all of them will have options over on the right here of how the materials should be dealt with. They will default to use the materials, sorry, the surfaces of the element that they are placed on. So this is just going to pick up the surfaces of the slab that it is an edge of, but you can override those if you want to by unticking that and setting your own. And then for the rebate, we have settings for the depth of the rebate, the what do you call that? The depth and also the depth in the other dimension. And you can have a different depth at the back and at the front so that it can taper as well. And the additional settings here are just the attribute settings. So there's not particularly heavy on settings for the rebate. And then down at the bottom here, we also handle how it deals with corners. So if you want it to be cut square at the ends, which is what it's doing by default, that's the setting there, but you can also set it to intersect, in which case it will miter around a corner. Doesn't really make any sense to do that for the rebate, so you probably don't need to adjust the setting there, but it will make more sense on the footing and the steps. So the options are to intersect the matching edge, align with the adjacent edge, or to enter a custom angle for that edge to essentially the corner of that. And the same for these for the other end, basically. So we've got a start of the edge and an end of the edge. So that's the rebate. The footing has a couple of options as to the shape of the footing. So we've got rectangular, sloping back, stepped, or bevel back. If I go to a 3D view here, you'll be able to see what those look like. So we've got rectangular there, same, but with a sloped back, stepped, and beveled back. And once you make those changes to whatever shape you want, you can define the various dimensions of the parts of the footing there. And then over on the right, we have the end cut angles. So same as before, we can choose to miter them on the ends. We can have them cut square. We can align with the adjacent edge, or we can enter a custom angle for that edge. And then we have the same attributes as we saw before, so that you can override the slab settings if you like, and bring through the pen colors and that sort of thing. And last, we have the steps. So there's a couple of options available for the steps. First of all is the option to as to whether they should go up from the top of the slab or down from it. So the one that we placed before goes down from the top of the slab. So we click the slab edge and then it will go downward from the slab there. But obviously if you want a stair to go down to a floor slab, just choose the other way around and it will shoot up from the top of the slab instead of going down from the top of it there. So two options there to go up or down. Then we can define the dimensions of the stair. So the number of rises is set here, and then the dimensions for each actual step is set below. We have the same corner options available here as the other two did, and the same surface settings over on the side here. Obviously, this is not a replacement for the stair tool, for the CA tool, stair tool, or the ArchiCAD stair tool. It's much, much more simplistic for that, but it can be very useful for just quickly generating a stair for something, or for using stairs in landscaping and that sort of thing. Just makes it nice and easy to manage those. So that is the slab edge tool, and as I said, it's part of the structural tool. So you will find it under the structural tool in the library there. Obviously, there's only 3 slab edges, so it doesn't show us anything else. So it's nice and easy to find, but that is the library that needs to be loaded if you want to be able to use these. So you need the structural tool installed, and you need to be making sure that you load the structural library, whether it's by a libpack or a LCF. So that's the slab edge tool. The next thing I wanted to have a look at is the annotation tool, which at the moment just concerns itself with changing the case of text in our project. So I think I have a detail view which has some text on it. Here we go. So what this does is it just does one thing, and that is that it converts text case. If I can find it, here we go, convert case. So this is essentially doing the thing that is available in a lot of word processors and that sort of thing, where if you accidentally type in with all caps on, or you want to change to all caps after the fact or something like that, you can just do it easily without having to retype everything. And you can't do that in ArchiCAD, so we just made a function to do that, basically. So we've got 4 options for the case. Sentence case, we'll put a it's probably self-explanatory, but it'll put a capital at the beginning and everything else is lowercase. Uppercase will make it all uppercase, lowercase, lowercase, and title case will capitalize every word. So let's say that we want to switch to title case. For this one, we have observe case standards, which we used to call exceptions here, but essentially this will let us define a couple of rules for the tool to follow where it shouldn't do exactly what we're telling it to there. So special cases basically for the case. Then we've got the scope, so we can choose if we want it to apply to just the current drawing, the text on all floor plan views, text on all drawings, or the selected item. If you have an item selected, it'll just apply to the selected items. But that's grayed out at the moment because I don't have anything selected. So we're going to go current drawing for this one. But we can choose to also apply it to string properties and parameters. So this will go through the string elements. So that's the text parts of any objects that it finds in the views, and it will change those as well. So this could be useful for, say, updating labels, or if you have objects that are placing down chunks of text for some reason, maybe you've got a table that shows a bunch of text in it or something, you can turn these options on and it will also adjust the case in those as well. And then we can also tell it what to ignore. So by default, it will change the case of everything that's in the current drawing, regardless of whether it's visible or not, but we can turn on ignore hidden items to not apply to the hidden items, and the same for locked items and locked layers. And then the last option here is possible changes to associative labels, and essentially this is just a warning that it will tell you if it finds associative labels that it has changed. It will let you know that you need to update those. And it's kind of annoying if you already know that it's going to do that. So this option will, if you tick it, will remind you about that. And if you leave it off, it won't remind you about it. So I'm just going to hit OK, and that will go through and it'll make the change that I asked it to. So I think I chose to put it in title case. So every word is capitalized, as you can see here. And we can go back and we can run it as many times as we want. All it's doing is changing the case for us. So we could go, actually, everything should be lowercase, and it will do that for us as well. So it pretty much does exactly what you tell it to in those settings there. We've also got the observe the standards here. If I hit the edit button, we can tell it a couple of things that we want it to do. So you can see in this case, we have a case exception set up for the word jib because it's a brand name. I don't think this is actually true anymore. I don't think they do it like this anymore. But for example's sake, we're going to say that this should be a capital G, a lowercase I, and a capital B. And this should be applied when it is anywhere. And you can actually see that I have this in my selection here. So we've got the word jib entered here. And even though I converted everything to lowercase, the jib was unaffected because we are overriding it using our case exceptions here. We also have a couple of others. So if it finds a X that is between numbers, so in the case of, say, this X here, to show dimensions, it will ignore those as well. And the same for if we have centers annotated anywhere, which we do have over here as well. So if I were to go through now and change everything to uppercase, hit OK, you will see that jib stays with the lowercase I, centers is still lowercase, and the X between the two dimensions is also lowercase as well. So it just makes it nice and easy to handle any cases where you don't want things to change, but still have it do a lot of the work for you. The other option that we have available in the annotate tool as well, which we won't look at today, is the merge text option, and that will let you select multiple text blocks and merge them into one, which can be very helpful if you are, say, importing from a DWG or something and there's a bunch of text boxes floating around. It's a lot of work to just sort of select everything and copy paste and that sort of thing. This will just merge them together for you, so it's nice and easy. The next thing I wanted to look at is the transformer tool. And what this one will do is that it will mirror your entire project. So it lets you choose the point about which you want to mirror the project, so sort of the axis point. And then if you want to mirror it in the horizontal or vertical axis. If you have ever tried to do this before, if you've had to do it for some reason, you will know that it's kind of painful to do. In ArchiCAD, you need to open each story and mirror each story using the same point for each of them. And then you need to go through all of your sections and elevations and also mirror all of the 2D elements and stuff as well. What our tool does is that it just does all of that work for you. So it turns a possibly several hour long, very annoying to do job to a couple of seconds, very easy to do job. So if you ever do need to do that, which you may do from time to time, this just makes it nice and quick and easy. So we just go to the transformer tool here. We choose mirror project. We click to place our origin point, our axis, and then we move the mouse either up or down from it to define it as the vertical axis, or we move it to the left or to the right to define it as the horizontal axis, and then click, and it will go through and mirror our entire project. At the moment, if you have interior elevations in your project, it needs to open them all as it mirrors them. So you will see a relatively fast slideshow of all of your interior elevations go by as it does the job, and then it will return you to the floor plan view. And as you can see, the entire project is mirrored now. And if I go into any of my views, we will see that match as well. So if I jump back to 3D, you will see that it's been mirrored in 3D as well, and the same as in my sections and everything like that. So it's mirrored the project, but it also mirrored the attached 2D items and that sort of thing as well. So you don't have to go through and do all of that yourself. The only thing that it won't touch at the moment is that it will not do anything with detail drawings at all. And the reason for that is that detail drawings are, oh, it has done something with this one for some reason. Oh no, it's just because I've changed my view. There we go. Because detail drawings are 2D elements, the tool has no way of knowing how the 2D elements relate to what you've done to the model. So they'll just leave it exactly as it was before. Chances are, in most cases, you don't want to update the details anyway, because it's just a detailed drawing. It doesn't need to doesn't need to reflect changes like that. But if you do need to mirror your details, you will still need to do those manually because we need a person to decide whether they should be mirrored or not, because the tool doesn't have any way of inferring that information, unfortunately. So that is the transformer tool. So go to CI Tools, Transformer, and choose to mirror the project. This one in particular, as you can probably tell, we called it Transformer when what it actually does is mirroring the project. The reason that we did that is because we just thought that maybe if people wanted to do other kinds of transformations, we could add in other kinds of transformation options. So maybe you want to, I don't know, rotate everything all at once, or create a copy of everything all at once, or something like that. So if you do have any sort of use cases for something like that that you think would be useful, I'd love to hear about it. But yeah, at this stage, all it does is mirroring. And it just applies the mirror to the whole project and then doesn't sort of mess with anything after that. It's just doing what you would do manually. It's just doing it quickly and automatically. So you don't need to worry about it making like mirrored versions of your objects or anything weird like that. It's just mirroring everything in the project. It also means that you can mirror multiple times if you need to as well. So you can mirror it in the horizontal axis and then in the vertical axis as well, if you needed to, or something like that. That will be fine. The last thing that I very quickly want to do to look at before we finish up is the time tracker tool. So this is accessible via the time tracker menu, and it will just open up a small palette. And the idea here is that it is not a particularly fancy thing. It doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles. The idea here is that it will be floating in your ArchiCAD window, which will remind you to keep track of your time. So I personally have tried to monitor how I'm using my time and that sort of thing, and I often just forget to press the button to say I'm doing this thing and that sort of thing. And so what we're trying to do here is just make it so that you remember to keep track of that. So if that's something you're interested in doing, that's what the time tracker is here for. It will just sit here measuring, counting what you're doing quietly to itself. So we can go in and we can say what I'm doing and then press the play button, and it will just start recording time from there. And then once we're finished, we just hit the pause button to stop recording that. And it will write out the information to a CSV file that you can see here. So what you can do is just record what you're doing from day to day, and then at the end of the week, you can come and check how you spent your time. It could also be useful for making sure that you are quoting for the amount of time that you think things will take. So maybe you quote someone's project that you're going to spend 4 hours doing a certain task. Then you can record how long that you actually spend with this. And then you know that next time that you quote for something similar to this, you need to allow an extra 2 hours to do it or something like that. So the idea is just to remind you to keep track of your time so that it can help you sort of make sure that you are billing for the right types of things and for the right amounts of time. So that's nice and straightforward to use. You can enter the job and task titles just by typing in here, and the drop down here lets you choose from previously used time titles and tasks. So those are the couple of things that I wanted to show today. I'm just going to quickly check and see if we have any questions before we finish up. Over here. All right. It looks like we don't have any questions. We do have a comment which I'm not going to wade into at all, because all I'm interested in is CI tools and what software they happen to run inside of. I have no opinion on. All right. Cool. It looks like we don't have anything more coming in there, so that is us for today. As I said, if you do think of anything else that you would like to see covered, or if you have any questions about what we talked about today that you want to ask more about or something like that, please do let us know by emailing nz.support@centralinnovation.com. And that will either be answered by the support team or it'll make its way through to me. And if you are interested in using any of these tools and you haven't used them before, you can also grab a 30-day trial of them for free by going to myci.centralinnovation.com/free trial. All of the tools will work with full functionality for the entire 30 days. They're not cut down or anything like that. And if you get to the end of the 30 days and you decide not to subscribe for the tools, they're not going to break anything either. Everything will still look the way that it did when your trial expired. You just won't be able to make further edits to them or create new elements using them. But it's not going to break your project and make you dependent on buying them or anything nasty like that. So you can try them out, see what you think, and then regardless of whether you choose to subscribe or not, you will still be able to use the elements that you placed during the trial. All right. Well, thanks for your time, everyone. That's all from me for today, and I hope to catch you at the next one.